What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Alphonso Speaks. It's more Darrell Brooks time. It is more Darrell Brooks time, and today is the day a lot of you have been waiting for. You guys love the interrogation part. You guys love the opening and closing statements. You guys love the sentencing remarks, and you guys also love the very first examination. You guys love the very first examination of Erika Patterson. Okay, so a lot of you have been correcting me about the whole birthday thing. Just want to make it clear. I'm pretty sure I said I think, which means I'm not confirming anything. Just so you guys know. When I say I think this is the case, or I think something happened, that means I'm not sure. So you guys don't have to get upset in the comment section telling me you're giving misinformation. Look, I'm trying to figure this thing out as I go, okay? I know a lot about the trial, but there's little intricate details that I'm not quite sure about, and that's why we're going through this whole thing, okay? So have grace and calm down. Calm down. It's not that deep. Anyway, before we get started today, housekeeping notes. Boom, Kenichi Bear Headphones. We are so close to Christmas. We are 1 week away. What are you waiting for? Order yourself some Kenichi Bear Headphones right now and use promo code Alphonso, all caps. And I do identify by that name. And I do know that person. And you do have the subject matter jurisdiction to use that promo code to get yourself a brand new pair of Hibernation 5C headphones. It's the first time I've gotten through that in a while without stuttering. Round of applause. Round of applause. Okay, so as you guys can see, I'm pretty hyped up right now. I'm ready for this video. I've been ready for this video for a while. I don't understand how that little like thing keeps... What is that bubble? What is that? I don't understand. I don't get it. But here we go. It is the examination of Erika Patterson and the cross-examination of Erika Patterson by you-know-who. So let's go ahead and get into everything. Zach Wichow, go ahead and call your witness, bud.
For the record, I have received Exhibits 1, 3, and 5. With that, the state may call its next witness.
Thank you. The state calls Erika Patterson.
Raise your right hand. My clerk, Teresa, who's standing over here, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Have a seat. First thing I will have you do is to state your first and last names for the record and then spell each.
Okay. Erika Patterson, Erika Patterson.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Patterson. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry.
All right. Can you tell us, do you know a man by the name of Darrell Brooks?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd ask that the court have Mr. Brooks temporarily remove his mask.
Mr. Brooks, you're advised to remove your mask, please. Thank you.
Ms. Patterson, do you see Darrell Brooks in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
On the left side, and he...
Look how nervous Darrell looks. Oh my goodness. Wait a second. Darrell looks like, man, I really want to impress this girl. Like that's the face that you have when you're in high school. You see like that girl that you really like. You're like that's the face Darrell just had. So Darrell does have weaknesses that are very obvious. Look at that.
He's wearing an orange shirt and a mask.
I'd ask the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect that this witness has identified the defendant.
Can you tell us how long you've known Darrell Brooks?
Since I was 15.
How old are you now?
32 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
What's the nature of your relationship with Mr. Brooks?
We have a 15-year-old daughter together.
Okay. In what state did you...
They have a 15-year-old daughter together. She's 32, which means this child was born when she was 17. Darrell Brooks, at the time of this case, I believe was 39 or 40. So the jury can do the math in their head to figure out something does not make sense here. something's a little fishy, right?
Did you meet Mr. Brooks?
Reno, Nevada.
And when did you come to Wisconsin?
Last year, 2021, June 13th.
Why did you come to Wisconsin?
We were coming out here. I was going to be out here for 2 weeks and go back, but I never went back.
Who did you come to Wisconsin with?
Darrell Brooks,
Where did you live when you got to Wisconsin?
Atlanta, Georgia. Or we lived with his mother, sorry.
Mr. Brooks' mother?
Mm-hmm.
In what city was that?
Hold on, was that a yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what my job is, to make sure the record is.
Yes, ma'am. Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay. At some point, did you stop living in Milwaukee and start living in Waukesha?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember approximately when that timeline was?
November 2nd, 2021.
Okay. Where were you staying in Waukesha?
The women's shelter in Waukesha.
That's downtown?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know a person by the name of Corey Runkle?
Yes.
Where did you meet Corey Runkle?
The women's shelter.
Were you roommates?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention to the date of November 21st, 2021.
Yes.
Did you know anything about a parade happening in Waukesha that day when you woke up that morning?
I didn't know about the parade.
Okay, what about that afternoon? Did it become apparent to you that something
Yes.
was going on?
Yes.
Did you come into contact with Darrell Brooks on the afternoon of the...
Real quick, I think the purpose of that question, him asking her if she was aware of the parade, is like I think this becomes like a pattern with the witnesses where, you know, he asks them like, were you aware that there was a parade? And if not, like, did you become aware? Did it become, you know, obvious to you that there was something going on? Because, you know, Darrell Brooks, like, one of the arguments that he may have tried to make was he didn't know that there was a parade, but how does everybody know except for you? And it really lends itself, like, that argument, you know, becomes very strong for the state because you got a whole bunch of witnesses, not just like a couple, you got a whole bunch. So it's like, you know, people say, oh, so everybody got their report card but you. It's one of those situations.
November 21st, 2021.
Yes.
Where did you first come into contact with Mr. Brooks?
At Frame Park.
And how did that come about? What were you doing and why did he get there?
We were messaging and calling each other all day. We were arguing back and forth. He came out there. Well, I told him I was with Miss Corey, and he came out there. I told him where I was. Got in his car. We drove around, and then I forgot the street. We went up that street. It's a hill. It's kind of by the Walgreens. We went up that hill. We drove around. Me and him got into an altercation. He hit me in my eye. I jumped out of the car, walked, and found my way back by Frame Park. And then he followed me there. And then I went back in his car. I got out, and I had called Corey. Well, I called Corey before that. And she came to meet me. I told her that me and him got into an altercation. So she met up with me, and by the time she got there, she pulled me out the way because his car turned around. He swerved. She pulled me out of the way. He got out his car, and they got into an altercation. He pushed her in her face, and I don't remember if she hit him back or anything. That we walked away and walked back to the women's shelter.
Okay. Let's go back and go through some of the details of that, all right?
Yes.
You said that you told Mr. Brooks that you were hanging out with Miss Corey.
Yes.
Were you hanging out with Corey Runkle earlier that day?
Yes, her and her friend Nick.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were with those two?
Is at the Frame Park because we had split up when I met up with Darrell.
Okay. Do you remember what you were doing in Frame Park with Corey?
We were just hanging out.
Okay. Any else?
Yeah, I do have a question, guys. For those of you who have watched a whole lot of trials, like I noticed in some trials, anytime a witness is being questioned, the person questioning them is standing the entire time, either at their table or at a podium. Like, what's like the difference here? Like, is it just different courts, different rules? You know what I mean? Judge's discretion. You know, what's up with that? If any of you guys know, because I know Zach Wichow was sitting while he's questioning the witnesses. I mean, it seems like a real like nice informal conversation, which, you know, might work for a witness. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to make the witness as comfortable as possible. Maybe you want it to feel more like a conversation rather than them getting, you know, interrogated. You know, I don't know, maybe a strategy, but I don't know if it I don't know what the standard is. If you guys know, let me know.
Alcohol involved?
Yeah, a little bit.
Do you
They had
remember?
like a Mike's Hard, the little Mike's Hard beer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say that you were intoxicated after consuming one Mike's Hard beer?
No, I was not.
Okay. And at what point did you split up with Corey?
When Darrell was on his way, Corey and Nick had left. So I sat there and waited for him. We were still arguing on the phone, but I waited for him.
And you were in Frame Park?
Yes.
Okay. How did Darrell arrive? That is, he didn't walk to Waukesha.
He drove in his mother's car. It was the red, was it a Ford, I believe? I'm not sure what kind of car, but it was the red.
Had you seen him driving that car on previous occasions?
Yes.
Had you ever been in that vehicle before?
Yes.
When you were staying with Mr. Brooks' mother, were you staying in the house?
No.
Where were you staying?
We were outside. Sometimes we'd sleep in that car because his mom, he was not allowed to, be in the house. So, yes.
And you slept in that car with Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
That's before November of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Describe for us what happened when Mr. Brooks first arrived in Frame Park, when you first saw him that day.
We were still arguing, pretty much. He was already in a bad mood when he met up with me anyways.
This is an argument that face-to-face, using words, not messaging,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you get in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened next?
We drove around and we were arguing, and that's when we got into the altercation in the car, and that's when I jumped out. We were up the hill.
Do you remember exactly the route that the two of you took while you were driving around?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. She may answer.
Yes, I do. I'm not
You see how annoyed she looked with him? Did you see the eye roll? Gosh, that was strong.
sure the exact street names. Like I said, I'm not from Waukesha, but I do know the route.
After, the next day you met with Detective Steve Guthrie, is that right?
Yes. It was the same day.
Okay. And you got in the squad car with Detective Guth
Oh, that was the next day, yes. Sorry.
and showed him the route that you took with Mr. Brooks?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right. You described going up a hill, right?
Yes.
Did you cross the river before you did that?
No.
Okay. What happened once you got up at the top of the hill?
He drove up farther more, and then that's when I jumped. It was on the up the hill. It was farther more, and then that's when he hit me, and I jumped out of his car. Well, his mother's car.
Where were you sitting when he hit you?
The passenger side front seat.
Where was he sitting?
Driver's side.
What did he use to hit you?
His hand.
Was it an open hand, a closed fist?
Yes. What was it? Like this, sorry, like his open hand.
Okay.
But it was hard, because
So
it,
the record should reflect that the witness raised her right hand and
yes.
kind of waved it almost like a back slap?
No, harder than that.
Okay. What did you do after Mr. Brooks struck you?
I cried, and then I just jumped out of the car. And then going towards down the hill, that's when he was following me,
Describe how you were going down the hill.
walking down the hill.
And how was he going down the hill?
Driving?
The red Ford Escape?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
He just followed me all the way to the park.
Okay.
He tried to take my phone from me at the light going down the hill, and he just kept following me and arguing with me out the window.
Do you recall being near a gas station while this argument was happening?
Yes.
Objection, irrelevant.
Yes.
Hold on. Overruled. She may answer, and the answer she provided may stand.
Yes. It was right at the light. The gas station on the, that's a gas station on the left, and then Walgreens is towards the right.
And do you remember what was being said at the gas station?
I do not remember.
What happened when you got past the gas station?
I kept walking. He was still following me.
Did you at any point attempt to contact anybody for help?
No, just Corey, but towards the frame park. That's when I called her, when I got closer to there.
Did she answer?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said, he just hit me, and I said, I need you to meet me, and that's when she met me.
Where did you go?
I walked past Frame Park, and I went, I met Corey, and I got into his car and then got back out, and I met Corey at White Rock School, I believe it is.
When you say his car, you're talking about who?
Darrell Brooks.
And were you familiar with White Rock School at the time? Did you ever
No.
been there before?
No.
You just know that from
That's
talking
what
about this afterwards?
Yes.
What happened when you got to White Rock School?
That's when because I had got there, got back in his car, talked to him, got back out. Corey had met. She snatched me out of the way because he swerved his car when he made a U-turn, and then that's when he got out of the car and they were arguing and he hit her in her face, and then I think she pushed him back. I don't recall, and then I was trying to split them up at the time. After that, we just kept walking and went to the women's shelter.
Who's we?
Me and Miss Corey.
Madam Clerk, could we please have the state's rear table projected for the witness? On the screen in front of you, a video marked as State's Exhibit number 4. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Have you seen this video before?
Yes.
What does it depict, or what's in this video? What are we going to see here?
You're going to see me walking, and you're going to see him turning the car back around and Corey meeting up with me in the altercation they had.
Does this video accurately show what happened in front of the White Rock School on November 21st of 2021?
Yes.
I move Exhibit 4 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Any objections?
Yes, we haven't even played the video. How do we know what's even in the video at this point? Can we see the video before it is admitted into evidence?
Your objection is noted. The foundation has been laid. Exhibit 4 is received.
It's literally situations like this where you're reminded, never represent yourself, because he doesn't understand the technicalities of the court. And that's the problems that he's running into. And again, honestly, it wouldn't matter anyway, even if he had lawyers, but like, he's adding extra frustration for himself. If you guys care about that, he's adding extra frustration for himself because he's representing himself and doesn't even know how the small technicalities of court, like how they work. He doesn't understand anything.
And permission to publish is granted.
We also shut off the I think it's the Polycom system that's
Oh,
taking
yeah,
up
we
the
certainly can. Yep. There you go.
Okay, there's
Can we
the
pause quick?
SUV.
Paused at 1:04, and just to clarify, Ms. Patterson, we're going to watch portions of the video. We're not going to talk while it's playing, and then when it's paused, I'll ask you questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. Resume at 1:04. Let's pause. We've paused at 1 minute and 37 seconds. Ms. Patterson, who did we see in the video there walking?
Me.
Okay. And we saw a red SUV, right?
Yes.
Who was driving that SUV?
Darrell Brooks.
Was there anybody else in the vehicle at that point, to your knowledge?
Nope.
Okay. Let's resume playing.
You can see too, if you look at her, she's walking with a bit of a limp from the incident, you know, of a couple of weeks earlier where he ran over her foot.
pause there. At 4 minutes and 17 seconds,
There's
the
the
two people who
cavalry.
just entered the screen from the right, do you know who they are?
Corey and Nick.
Do you know which is which?
Corey's on the left, Nick's on the right.
Let's resume playing.
So at this point, they're looking for her. She just went somewhere at the top of the screen. Is that Darrell again driving right there? Yeah, so he pulls off again.
At 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Ms. Patterson, we watched the video, but you were there. Can you tell us what was happening during that portion of the video we just watched?
Corey and Mr. Brooks were arguing, and that's when he pushed her in her face, and I don't recall what she did back, and then that's when he drove off. One of them, I think it was Nick, called the police, and that's when he drove off.
Do you remember what Nick said when he called the police?
I believe Nick said he had a knife, if I recall, but he didn't have one, but that's what Nick said on the phone.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
Darrell Brooks.
Okay. And you didn't see Mr. Brooks with a knife that day?
No.
What about Nick? Did you see him with a knife?
No.
Did you have a knife?
No.
Corey?
No.
Why do you think Nick said to the police that there was a knife?
Probably to make them come faster.
Who got into the driver's seat at the end of that video?
Darrell Brooks.
And again, anybody in the vehicle at that point?
No.
Other than him?
No.
Let's resume playing from 6:03.
Okay, her friend's running after
Stop
her.
it there. At 6 minutes and 54 seconds. What did we see in that clip, Ms. Patterson?
I walked away from Corey and Nick because I was mad because me and her started arguing after that because she was mad that I even met up with Mr. Brooks.
Okay.
And then she was running after me,
Do you know the direction that you were walking there?
straight. And then,
That's fair. Waukesha's
sorry,
confusing.
I'm sorry, it really is, I'm sorry.
Towards downtown or away from?
Towards downtown, sorry.
And where did you go after you walked off the screen here?
I just kept walking until they followed me, and then we made a left. I'm not sure which street it was, but we made a left. We didn't know, yeah. We just made a left turn and went straight towards the women's shelter.
Before you turned off of the street you're walking on here, did you have contact with a police officer?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and you spoke briefly with that officer,
Yes.
and then where'd you go after you spoke with that officer?
Then we left. That's when we made the left across the street and went towards the shelter, women's shelter.
At the moment when Mr. Brooks left the little physical scuffle that we saw there and got into the driver's seat, how would you describe his demeanor?
He was angry.
Okay, how do you know that? What was he saying or doing that led you to believe that?
Besides the fact that he was arguing the whole time and he hit me, he was just mad. He just left very angry. He just drove off fast. He was mad they called the cops.
You don't recall any specific things that he said at that point?
No.
Do you recall what kind of shoes he was wearing?
I do not.
Do you remember meeting with detectives after this and saying that he was wearing blue slides?
I don't recall that,
Okay.
but I'm sure I did.
Can we please pull up for the witness only?
He's got this stupid face on because he thinks he's found like a little loophole in their testimony. Bro, that is the most insignificant part of the testimony. What shoes you were wearing. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what shoes you were wearing. Again, we caught you on 4K camera running through this parade. Bro, it's the trying to find every little thing for me. It's pointless. It's like, bro, what are you doing? You're wasting your time and everyone else's. But that's his whole purpose in life, to waste people's time.
Exhibit 5.
Objection. Why is that for witness? Oh, sorry.
You recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Mr. Patterson?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead there. I'm assuming that Mr. Brooks withdrew that objection.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my understanding and appreciate that. Okay, go ahead.
And I believe actually Exhibit 5 has already been received and published, so I'd ask to do that again, to publish again.
Permission granted.
Object. Wasn't it supposed to be for the witness only?
The exhibit's previously been received and the state requested permission to publish it once again, and I granted that request.
He would know that if he was actually listening and paying attention, but he's not. He's just thinking about all the questions that he's going to ask Erika.
So when, just so I'm clear, when it's published again, then it's...
Correct. When I say permission to publish granted, that means it will be shown to the courtroom and to the jury.
Okay, I didn't understand.
That's okay.
Ms. Patterson, who's that in the picture?
That's me.
And that photograph was taken
The day of the parade.
November 21st,
Yes.
the night.
Yes.
Okay. And what injuries do we see in that photograph?
That is my left eye that was swollen.
Your left eye would have been the eye closest to the defendant,
Yeah.
based on your description of where you and the defendant were sitting in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you sustain that injury?
From him, Mr. Brooks, when he hit me.
Okay, got it. Ms. Patterson, did you consent in any way to being struck in the face?
No.
That's all I have.
Now you gotta ask that question. Some people be out here on some freak stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, some people into some weird stuff. You feel me? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I know some of y'all don't be acting all innocent just because I know my audience. All right? 55 and up. I know y'all are very, very prominent here. But I know how y'all used to get down back in the day, 30 years ago. I know. Some of y'all still do it now. Y'all ain't slick. I'm watching y'all.
After this witness.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brooks. Do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
First of all, good morning
Good morning.
and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Gross.
You stated that you were hanging out with your friend Miss Corey on the day of this incident, correct?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were hanging out drinking?
Yes.
Would it also be fair to say that you occasionally drink too much?
Objection, lowlights.
Sustain.
Just warn y'all, we got a long way to go in this testimony, but I'm gonna get through it for y'all. That was me just checking to see. But here, the first question he's asking. The motive was clear from the beginning of this cross-examination. I'm just trying to embarrass you because I can't ask no questions of you that's gonna help my case. So I'm gonna just try to get you kicked out of your women's shelter instead. What a absolute loser Darrell Brooks is in life and in this case.
Would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up. What were you drinking?
A Mike's Hard beverage.
Real quick, somebody actually recommended that I do this when he's doing his question. So we're going to go 1.5 speed for a second and just see how that does, okay? Just see how that comes off.
Were you aware that it was said that you were actually drinking vodka?
Objection.
Hold on. There's an objection. I need to rule on it first, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Sustain that mischaracterizes the previous testimony.
All right, let's slow it down a little bit. 1.25.
So it would be fair to say that you were drinking.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that you were a little intoxicated?
I was not.
How much did you drink that day?
1 of the Mike's Hard alcohol beverage.
If any of you have ever had a Mike's Hard lemonade or anything, it doesn't get you drunk. It just gives you a freaking headache. I hate the stuff. Like, whatever he's trying to push here, this narrative of her being aggressive when she's drunk and stuff like that. Yeah, she might be aggressive when she's drunk, but she wasn't drunk on November 21st, 2021. And you ain't going to sit up here and convince us that one Mike's Hard lemonade got her drunk. We're not stupid. Everybody on that jury, these are people in Wisconsin. You don't think they know their alcohol? Bro, you better get out of here.
And around what time of the day was that?
I don't remember.
Was it shortly before meeting up with the alleged defendant, or was it sometime before?
It was before.
Did you have anything to drink after?
No, I did not.
Look, this is not a Darrell Brooks roast session, but like I gotta ask what he's doing with his wrist, right? This whole thing, like, bro, hyperactivity. It's bad for the ligaments. Okay, straighten out your arm. You know, strengthen your wrist. Come on, bro. Good mechanics, good body mechanics.
You stated that you were engaging in a conversation with the alleged defendant via the telephone. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Texts, phone calls?
Yes.
Were those texts and phone calls of what nature were they of?
Me and Mr. Brooks were arguing throughout the day.
In the texts and phone calls?
Yes, we were.
If the conversation was argumentative, why would you agree to meet up with the alleged defendant?
Because you're an abuser and a groomer, and she was afraid that you would probably send people after her if she didn't do what you told her to do, because she also thought that you were a blood, which you're going to pay for when you go into general population, because there's actual bloods in that prison, and they're going to try to tear you apart because they don't play that.
I do not know.
Do you recall how the meetup was supposed to be set up?
I don't recall.
Did you at any time ask the alleged defendant to meet up with you?
Well, I told Mr. Brooks where I was.
Did you at any time ask to meet up with the alleged defendant?
No, I did not.
So it would be fair to say that the alleged defendant just came where you were?
Yes, I told you where we were. And obviously, we were going to hang out. I never told Mr. Brooks to hang out with me. I told him where we were.
So why would, if there was an argumentative conversation prior to you meeting up with the alleged defendant, why would you tell the alleged defendant where you were?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
You just
Shout out to attorney Zach Witchow again. I give him a lot of shout outs on this channel, but it's because he deserves it. This man went out of his way to ensure that witnesses were protected the best that he could while they were being questioned by Darrell Brooks. Because obviously Darrell Brooks is a big bully, and his testimony really just victimized the victims all over again in a lot of instances. And obviously it's no different for this Erika Patterson one. So Zach Witchow really has his, eyes and ears wide open right now to cut off Darrell Brooks any chance he can in order to protect Erika Patterson. You got to respect that.
stated that you really don't know the city of Waukesha. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
So how would you know exactly where you were?
because I was with Corey and she's familiar with this area.
Would it be fair to say that Corey overheard these conversations between you and the alleged defendant?
Yes, she was my roommate. She heard every conversation almost.
When you say every conversation, what would that
When
refer to?
she was in the room with me, when I was always talking to Mr. Brooks on the phone, she would hear the conversations. She heard me and Mr. Brooks, me, Erika Patterson, and Mr. Brooks arguing the day of the parade earlier before we left.
So it would be fair to say that you were engaged in conversation with the alleged defendant before you even left the women's shelter?
Yes,
And those argumentative conversations continue into your hanging out?
yes,
Would it be fair to say that that's what led you to drink?
no,
Would it be fair to say you were drinking because that's what you wanted to do?
yes,
Is it true that one of the rules and requirements of being at the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol? Would that be fair to say?
yes, but when I was drinking, it was at Frame Park. I was not at the women's shelter.
That's one of the questions I would have preferred there be an objection from the state, because she shouldn't have even had time to answer that question, because that has nothing to do with the case. What do the rules of the women's shelter have to do with the case? Nothing. And again, this was just an attempt for Darrell Brooks to ruin the life of Erika, as he sees that she has ruined his life in his eyes.
Would it be fair to say that you knew you had to come back into the women's shelter at some point that day, that they have a curfew?
Yes, and I made it before curfew.
Let me back up a little bit. You did state that part of the rules and requirements for being in the women's shelter is no drugs and no alcohol, correct?
Yes, it was not in the women's shelter.
That's not what I'm asking. Is part of the requirement and rules of the women's shelter no drugs, no alcohol?
Yes,
Object asked and answered twice.
Sustained. Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Is there any type of drug and alcohol testing at the women's shelter?
I don't know. No,
No, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Would it be fair to say that if it was found that you were engaging in drugs and alcohol, that you might have lost your place at the women's shelter?
I'll object. I don't see how this is relevant.
Sustained. Next question.
Thank you. It should have been cut off at the first. Look, look at the woman in the middle, in the back. Look at her face. That's the face of everybody when they first heard those questions. Like, bro, what does this have to do with anything? What does this have to do? That's the photographer. And even she's asking these questions. What does that have to do with anything? What is the relevance of this line of questioning?
So around what time were you hanging out with Miss Corey, you said?
I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
Do you remember where in Frame Park?
No,
And approximately at what time did you meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't remember.
How long were you with the alleged defendant? Do you remember that?
Approximately 35 minutes.
Do you recall what? Well, you said that during this time you were with the alleged defendant that there was a argument going on. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
Do you remember what that argument was about?
he was arguing with me about money because I did not bail him out.
You also said that. Well, let me back up from that a little bit. if you knew that the conversation was becoming volatile, why did you still meet up with the alleged defendant?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, did the alleged defendant know anything about the city of Waukesha?
Yes.
And what did the alleged defendant know about Waukesha?
He told me, Mr. Brooks told me that his first child's mother lives in Waukesha.
Do you know that to be a fact?
That's what Mr. Brooks told me.
Are you aware that the alleged defendant, in fact, has no mother of any child that lives in the city of Waukesha?
Objection. If Mr. Brooks wants to testify, he should do so in a different state of the trial.
Exactly. It's not your turn to testify, Mr. Brooks. Come on, get it together.
Stay. You don't need to answer that.
He keeps trying to be slick, but it's not working. Like, your questions are so poorly constructed that you can't even slip in slick stuff.
Other than what you can recall about what the alleged defendant told you that they knew about Waukesha, how did the alleged defendant meet up with you in the location that you gave?
Mr. Brooks already knew where Frame Park was. Mr. Brooks previously had been to Waukesha plenty of times before. He's told me that.
And when was that told to you, and what conversation? Was it that day?
Before that, I'm not sure which day it was. I just know he knows about Waukesha.
So, would it be fair to say that when you told the alleged defendant where you were, that the alleged defendant knew exactly where you were?
Yes.
And how would the alleged defendant know that?
Because Mr. Brooks already knew Waukesha. He knew exactly where to go.
Did you at any time give directions where you may have been?
How could I give directions when I barely knew Waukesha myself?
Is that a no?
That's a no, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, she's getting mad irritated, understandably so. Like, bro, stop asking me these stupid questions. It's my birthday. I want to go do something that I don't want to be here talking to you. Like, you go back to your cell, I'm going to go back to my freedom. That's all I want to do right now. But instead, I'm here talking to you on my birthday. Last person I want to see on my birthday is you.
So, if you barely knew Waukesha yourself, where did you get the information of where you were from, where you were at the time of the conversation via telephone?
I left the women's shelter with Corey, and she knows that location. She told me what Frame Park was. I didn't know the name.
I feel like she already said this, but cool.
And would it be fair to say, assuming from what you just said, that you were with the alleged defendant for approximately around 30 minutes or so?
Yes.
And during that time, did you make any disparaging remarks or anything to entice the argument to escalate?
No.
So you didn't say anything at all during your 30 minutes with the alleged defendant?
No, because I was crying the whole time because Mr. Brooks was yelling at me, arguing with me.
So you said absolutely nothing at all?
I was crying the whole time.
Did you say anything?
No.
A few more questions.
Oh, great. A few more questions. He's literally trying to victim blame in this situation. All the questions are geared towards, you guys can see how this is Erika's fault, not mine, right? She was drinking. She was being aggressive with me. You know, she made me mad. So I had to do all the things that I did. That's what abusers do. That's how abusers justify their actions. That's exactly the type of approach that they like to take.
Okay.
You said that during this, well, once you had got out of the vehicle, as you say, you stated that your friend Miss Corey pulled you away from the vehicle because it swerved.
Yes, it was in the video.
You do know that we just saw the video. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, but there's two angles of the video.
Well, we only saw one, so I'm referring to the
Yes,
video that we saw.
Corey pulled me out the way when Mr. Brooks made a U-turn. and you almost swerved into Miss Patterson, which is me.
Would it be fair to say that the video does not show that?
There's different angles, but the video does not show that, the video we watched.
So the video that we just watched, that the jury just saw, there is no swerving of the vehicle and you being pulled back. Would that be fair to
From
say?
that far angle, you can kind of see it. Yes.
Would that be fair to say? That
You
there's-
answered the question, Mr. Brooks. Next question. Under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, I direct your attention to that next question.
Do you recall what was said during the altercation between is it Miss Corey and the alleged defendant?
No, I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you were standing right there?
Yes, I just don't remember what was being said.
Do you recall reporting anything that may have been said during that incident?
No,
Did you give a statement to anything that may have been said during that incident?
no,
Was anything directed towards you verbally in that incident?
yes. Corey told Mr. Brooks, don't ever hit my effing friend again. I remember that part. That was in the beginning.
Do you remember anything else that may have been said?
No,
Do you recall anything being said by Nick to the alleged defendant?
no,
Do you recall the alleged defendant saying anything to Nick?
no. I don't remember.
You also stated that right after this incident, you talked to law enforcement. Would that be fair to say?
Yes,
At any time, did you report any abuse?
yes.
And what did you report?
That you hit me?
And you gave a statement to that effect?
No, not to that police officer, but the detectives at the women's shelter.
Well, I'm referring to right during, well,
Oh, I don't
directly
remember.
after the incident.
I don't remember what I told that police officer.
Just one quick second, I'm reading from the statement, if I may.
You may.
Then, when that incident ended,
No, I do not remember.
do you remember reporting in your statement that the last thing he said to me was F-U-B, erase my number? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Would it be fair to say that you reported that this was said?
I don't remember.
Yeah, they're not gonna remember. This is a whole year, right? So like they're remembering. Everybody remembers like the biggest details of their trauma, but there's a lot of small details that you're not going to remember from a traumatic experience. If any of you have ever been through a traumatic experience, you really don't start remembering every little detail until you like go to therapy or like actively try to relive it in your head, which is not something that you really want to do because it's traumatic, right? You know, my wife has been through a lot of traumatic experiences in her upbringing, and the more, you know, I allow her to open up to me about all of that stuff over the, I mean, we've been together for 10 years, so there's been a lot of like opening up about those traumatic experiences. But as she continues to open up and open up and open up, she remembers more and more details and more small things that she's forgotten. You have to think, these people have been sitting on this for a year. Now, if you ask somebody fresh after, you know, then you might be able to get like most of the details, but even still they might forget some of the details in a traumatic experience like that. Now, when you wait an entire calendar year, yeah, they're gonna forget a lot because mentally they've been trying to protect themselves and move on from the situation. So a lot of those small details, those things that were said, or, you know, street names, for example, like Erika's not gonna remember all of that stuff. She's going to remember the main stuff. You hit me, you swerved, you fought Miss Corey and Nick, you drove off. And then later on I hear that you ran through the Christmas parade, and I'm like, what in the world is this person, this thing that has been in my life for the past 16 years?
Do you remember giving a statement to that effect?
No.
Would it be fair to say that you gave a statement?
No, I don't remember. I gave a statement to the detectives at the Women's Center.
So
That's
would
what
it
I
be fair?
remember.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Are you done answering?
Yes,
All right, next question.
Would it be fair to say that your memory is kind of cloudy of that day because you were intoxicated?
no,
There's a lot of things in this statement that you don't seem to remember. Is that fair to say?
Sustained. Next question.
Would it be fair to say that you reported 2 different incidents?
yes,
Do you remember the dates of those incidents that you
the
reported?
20th and the 21st.
Would it be fair to say that there was no incident on the 20th?
No,
Would it be fair to say that you were initially not truthful with law enforcement?
no,
Do you recall making a statement to law enforcement on November the 22nd of 2021?
I don't remember. I made the statement on the 21st of the day of the parade when I met the detectives that night.
Do you recall making a second statement the next day, or the next morning rather, which would have been the 22nd of November 2021?
Yes, I did actually. Yes, I did.
Do you recall what you reported that day?
I told them about the 20th when I met with Mr. Brooks, and all we did was argue. And you hit me then too.
So you reported incidents for 2 days in a row.
Yes,
Do you recall at any time telling law enforcement that you were not truthful and wanted to be truthful at that point?
no,
So you never made a statement to your knowledge that you fabricated a reported abuse incident?
no.
1 second here, I'm reading from that. To the best of your knowledge, do you remember talking with a detective? I don't want to butcher this name, Your Honor. I don't know how to pronounce it.
You can spell it if that's helpful.
A detective, Behrendt.
Detective Barron? Is it a detective or an officer?
It says detective, Your Honor.
Okay, ask your question.
Do you remember speaking with that detective?
Yes,
Do you remember what you reported to that detective?
I don't remember.
I'm reading directly from the statement, Your Honor, if I may.
Ask your question.
Do you remember report?
Why does he keep asking the judge for approval for every question like she's his parent? But then I remember this is day 2 of the testimony. She was still like kind of holding his hand at this point. I don't know what day it was, but at some point things take a turn and she's like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, you're going to have to figure it out yourself. You're going to have to understand what the statutes are, like what the law books say, what you can do and what you can't do, because I can't give you legal advice.
According to that detective saying you were not completely forthright with all of the information that you had given because you were afraid to get other people involved in your drama or your business?
I don't remember that.
And I'll object and move to strike based on the fact that I think I'm safe in saying that that is not from the report which the defendant is referring to.
The objection is sustained. I'll grant the motion to strike by the state of the question and any response that may have been elicited before I address the objection.
Your Honor, quick question on that. I'm reading directly from the report.
Imagine giving guidance to the person that you're trying to put in prison for the rest of his life. Like, this is the weirdest trial ever, man. But, like, I know why they did it. They're just trying to get this line of questioning over and done with so that Erika can leave and that they can continue to move forth with other witnesses.
Next question, Mr. Brooks.
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
Okay.
Keep in mind, guys, we are watching this at 1.25 speed. 1.25. Can you imagine how long this is taking?
I apologize for that, Your Honor. Do you remember at any time speaking with Officer Guth?
Yes.
And do you recall on what date that was?
November 21st.
Do you remember what you reported on November the 21st?
That me and Mr. Brooks, I met with Mr. Brooks at Frame Park. Me and Mr. Brooks got into officers. And
My apologies,
I jumped
guys.
out of your car and I walked and met my friend Corey. You followed me. And then after that, Nick and Miss Corey, they called the police officers. And then you drove off.
Just 1 second, Your Honor.
How many times have we heard just 1 second, Your Honor?
Do you recall reporting to Officer Guth that you were not completely forthright with the information that you reported?
I don't remember. And no, actually, no, I did not say that. I apologize.
So reading from what was reported to Officer Guth states that what I learned from Erika Patterson was that when I spoke to her on the previous evening with Officer Garrett, was that the pronunciation, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
I don't have it in front of me, I'm not sure.
She was not completely forthright with all of the information she had given. Would that be fair to say?
What was your question?
Do you recall in your reporting to Officer Guth that you were not forthright with the information that you gave?
No, I don't recall that.
So to the best of your recollection, at any time that you reported incidents to any law enforcement, at any time do you recall being untruthful?
No.
So do you remember the date and time of the first incident that you alleged?
I don't remember the time, but it was November 20th.
Do you remember what time of day that may have been?
I just said I don't remember.
Do you remember where you were at?
Frame Park.
So would it be fair to say that both alleged incidents that you are alleging happened at Frame Park?
The second incident on November 21st did not happen on Frame Park. We were driving around and he hit me.
What
The
I'm
first
asking
incident.
is where you were at when you met up.
Frame Park, yes. That's
both-
not what you
on both
just said.
alleged occasions?
Yes. That's how Mr. Brooks knew where Frame Park is. He already knew Waukesha area in the first place.
Same park.
Yes.
Do you remember where you were at in Frame Park?
No, it was in the parking lot. The first side of the parking lot. Kind of by the baseball field, I think that is. If that is the baseball field.
Do you recall who you were with?
Nobody. I was with Corey on November 21st, and the first day on November 20th, I was by myself.
So it would be fair to say that you went to the park alone.
Yes. I met up with Mr. Brooks intentionally on the 20th, yes.
Were you drinking that day?
No.
And how did you know how to get to Frame Park, as you call it?
I knew how to get to Frame Park 'cause I'd been there the previous times before that with Miss Corey. Walking past it. I knew how to get there because Corey walked with me that day too. I just was not with her. She walked towards there with me.
And so then you separated?
Yes.
Did you separate from Miss Corey at any time during the 21st?
Yes, I did. She left with Nick and I was with Mr. Darrell Brooks.
Do you recall to the best of your knowledge that it may have been someone else that she was with, that was with you that day?
She was by which day? Are you clarifying? Which day?
November the 21st of 2020.
She was with Nick that day.
The entire day?
Yes.
And you guys separated from that point?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say you guys separated after hanging out and drinking?
Mr. Brooks, under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, you need to move on to a new topic. You've been over this multiple times. It's been asked, it's been answered, and now it's under my authority under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, you need to move on.
So to the best of your knowledge, well, let me back up. How did you communicate with the alleged defendant on November 20th of 2021?
Phone calls.
Strictly phone calls, texts?
Both. Mostly phone calls.
Do you remember what was said in those texts and phone calls?
Same conversation we had on the 21st. He was mad, so I wasn't giving him money from not bailing him out.
So why would you meet up with the alleged defendant that day?
Because I just wanted to. We have a 15-year-old together. I mean, I was always going to talk to you then.
Do you remember if there was any agreed upon meeting up that day?
Yes.
By you, by the alleged defendant?
Both.
Do you remember the reason why you were meeting up?
I just said why.
So it would have been just to conversate?
Just to conversate.
The word is converse, by the way. Conversate is not a word. Just throwing that out there.
Would it be fair to say that you could have communicated strictly by the phone?
Yes.
Under 906.11, sub 1, sub C, the objection is sustained. Next topic, if you have one, Mr. Brooks.
You said that you came to Wisconsin from another state. Would that be fair to say?
Atlanta, Georgia, yes. June 13th, 2021.
And why did you leave Georgia?
We were coming out here for 2 weeks, and I never went back.
Can you state why you never went back?
Number one, I came out here, I didn't have money. Number two, I had no way to get back. And you were always, and Mr. Brooks was always physical.
So at any time were you ever offered money to go back to Georgia, or did anybody at any time ever?
No.
Did anybody at any time ever lend any help to help you go back to Georgia?
No.
Did you, to the best of your recollection, did you want to go back to Georgia?
Sustained. Next question, please.
So why didn't you file a report with law enforcement on November the 20th after you alleged that you were abused?
Because I've been dealing with it for so many years, I just didn't do it. I
So-
don't see what this has anything to do with this case.
How long have you known the alleged defendant again?
Since I was 15. I'm 32 now.
Would it be fair to say that you lived in different states from the alleged defendant?
Yes, but
I'm sorry, there was.
I was going to object and ask for clarification on the timeline there.
I'll sustain the objection, rephrase the question.
I was going to get to that, Your Honor. Would it be fair to say that during the duration of the time knowing the alleged defendant that the majority of that time you did not live in the same area or state?
yeah, off and on. I met Mr. Brooks in Reno, Nevada. I moved out of Reno, Nevada in 2017 to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved Mr. Brooks throughout. I've known him throughout, back and forth, off and on. The whole 16 years, me and Mr. Brooks were not together. But it was off and on.
Did you guys live in the same area off and on during that time?
Sustained.
Out of the 16 years you said it was, correct?
Yes, off and on, Mr. Brooks.
How much of that time did you actually spend with the alleged defendant?
Sustained. Also under 906.11, sub 1, sub C. Move on.
Bro, she is so fed up, man. She is so tired of talking to this man. Again, this is her birthday. She does not want to be in court on her birthday. She wants to go hang out with her friends or do something else, something productive for her own life on her birthday. She does not want to be talking to you, Mr. 1,000 Years.
At the time of this alleged incident, were you and the alleged defendant in any kind of relationship?
Yes.
And were you a couple? Were you just co-parenting? Or what was the nature of the relationship is basically?
We were together. I wouldn't have came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin if I was not with him.
So it'd be fair to say that you were in a committed relationship?
Yes.
It's kind of crazy. She didn't even want to be in Wisconsin in the first place. Like, this little sick and twisted, demented man convinced her that it was only going to be 2 weeks, and then he just kept her there. Probably to keep her away from her family, from her friends, all that stuff, to be able to maintain complete dominion and power over her. Kind of crazy how calculated this dude is with everything he does.
One second, I'll just go over something.
You know why he keeps saying, "Oh, 1 second, Your Honor. Oh, if I may, Your Honor. Oh, Your Honor, Your Honor." It's because he thinks he has an actual friend. He thinks that because of the cordial interactions him and the judge have had, he's like, okay, this is my lifeline right here. You know, you have to, again, think about what I said in the last video. He is clinging on to anybody who will treat him like a regular human being and not look at him like a monster, because right now he knows he messed up, and he knows everybody else in that courtroom is looking at him like a monster. And once the judge starts changing her tune with him a bit, he's gonna lash out, and that's where you see, you know, days like day 12 and yellow shirt day.
Would it be fair to say? I'm sorry, I didn't
Go
know.
ahead. No, there was a water bottle being provided.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Again, guys, 1.25 speed.
How did, before you came back into contact with the alleged defendant, how long had it been since you had seen the alleged defendant?
I don't know, but it was years, couple years.
So it would be fair to say that there was a significant gap in between interactions with the alleged defendant?
Yes.
Sustained, however, she provided the answer. It may stand. Next question.
So during your time, well, approximately how long were you staying around the alleged defendant before this incident on November 21st took place?
I don't know the exact time. I just answered your question on the exact time.
Were there any separations or gaps during that time?
Sustained.
At any time during these alleged incidents, were you with someone other than Miss Corey?
Corey and Nick, the day of the 21st, and then we separated and I met back up with him.
Any time during that day, were you with anyone else besides those two that you just named?
Mr. Brooks, you.
What about the alleged incident on the 20th?
I left with Miss Corey, and then she went a whole different direction, and I went to Frank Park and met up with Mr. Brooks.
both of those days that you cite, the 20th or the 21st?
The 20.
Hold on. Mr. Brooks, under 90611, I'm stopping this cross-examination. You've asked the same question, multiple questions, multiple times, and at this point, I'm going to declare that the opportunity to cross is now concluded.
I didn't know that was the same question, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, it's been asked and answered multiple times. So with that,
referring to
I'm going to turn to the state to see if they have any redirect.
Some brief clarification.
Go ahead.
Ms. Patterson,
I'm gonna put it back to regular speed now that the state is talking.
after the parade incident, which took place after the video we saw, right?
Yes.
Okay. You remember meeting with Detectives Jessica Barron and Steve Booth that night?
Yes.
Okay. And you gave a statement to them that night, correct?
Yes.
You gave a second statement to Detective Booth the next day. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk very briefly about the first statement, the night of the 21st, the night of the parade incident.
Yes.
You told them about an incident that had happened between you and the defendant on November 20th, is that right?
Yes.
And you also told them about an argument that you had had with the defendant on the 21st, is that right?
Yes.
But you left out the part about any physical violence on the 21st, is that accurate?
Yes.
And then when you met with Detective Guth for your second statement,
Yes.
on the 22nd, that's when you confirmed that there had been violence with Mr. Brooks on the 21st, is that right?
Yeah, yes. Well, they seen my eye on the 21st when they came, so I did let them know about the incident on the 21st. I did. The next day, I let him know about the incident on the 20th. Is what happened.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
To make it better. Sorry.
Good. That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. You may step
Thank
down.
you, Your Honor.
So that was the cross-examination of Erika Patterson. Okay, there we go. Got that working the way it's supposed to. Yeah, just a really, really frustrating video to get through, honestly. You know, you see how much she doesn't want to be there and how long he keeps her there. And I don't think he would have ever really stopped asking her questions unless Judge Darrell had declared the cross-examination complete. Excuse me. But I'm honestly very happy that the last person that she talked to on this day in court was attorney Zach Witchow, because Zach Witchow is like, he has a peaceful presence about him. He has a gentleman's presence about him, and I really like that, you know, a presence that can make somebody like Erika feel safe. And I think she deserved to feel safe in this moment, and again, Zach Witchow made sure that that happened. So shout out to him. His suit game was on fire again today. Absolutely sharp. Absolutely sharp. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this one. You know, any thoughts that you guys had, anything of note that maybe I didn't notice or speak on. Feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Follow me on my Instagram. Do not forget, like this video, share, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm, guys. We want to make sure we can continue to build on this fast rising community here at Alphonso Speaks. And I want all of you to be a part of it, but I want all your family, your friends to be a part of it as well. Follow me on that Instagram, though, so that you guys can reach out to me anytime you need to give me any topics that you want me to cover or anything you want me to react to, okay? In the meantime, PLP, peace, love, and positivity. Spread it everywhere. Leave your PLP in the comment section for me. Stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.